We are coming down to the home stretch of the month of May, and that means our month-long sub-battle with the 49ers report is coming down to the very end. We're a little bit behind the 49ers report in this sub-battle. They're at over 200. We're at 164. We want to show why we have the best fans, not just in the NFC West, but across the entire National Football League. Subscribe now. Stay up to date with the latest happenings in your favorite team all off-season long. And let's win this sub-battle right here on Seahawks Today. The first week of OTAs is in the books for your Seattle Seahawks. And on this edition of Seahawks Today, we're going to break down the newest free agent targets for your Seattle Seahawks of who they could potentially sign. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for joining us. Now, let's set the scene for you before we go over this list of potential free agent targets for Seattle. The money, the Benjamins, they're not there right now, as the Seahawks are over the cap by about $255,000. So technically they can't sign anybody. But help is on the way. Money is coming, folks, as we're expecting the Seahawks to have some cuts post-June 1. That's going to be step one in the process. But also some extensions are on the way as well. We'll show you those here in just a second. John Schneider, he's got a plan. He said this recently. We may have a couple of those we utilize to create some more room, but we're budgeted to be able to just keep trying to work our team through the trade deadline. We're not done. We try to budget all the way through. So, with that said, let's start with the extension candidates. Who do we expect the Seahawks to give money to free up money in the short term? One of those is obvious. Julian Love, coming off a Pro Bowl campaign, the best season of his career, the only returning starting safety from last year's Seahawks squad. That's a no-brainer, and if you don't take care of it now and he has another big year, his price tag is going to go up a lot next offseason. Makes sense to take care of this now. DK Metcalf, I expect to get an extension sometime soon as well. You look at this receiver market with guys like St. Brown and A.J. Brown and others getting a lot of money. Same thing kind of with Julian Love here. We expect another good year out of DK. If you kick the can down the curve, that price tag's only going to get up higher. John Schneider needs to take care of this soon. And Boye Mafe, coming off a season where he led the Seahawks in sacks in 2023. I think Boye is going to be due for a nice payday in his second contract. Remember, he was a second-round pick, so he doesn't have that fifth-year option. I would expect Seattle to get that done soon. So without further ado, we will go over our list of free agent targets for your Seattle Seahawks. Let's begin with Yannick Ngakoue, a journeyman in the National Football League over the last several seasons, most recently with the Chicago Bears, also played with the Indianapolis Colts, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Baltimore Ravens, the Minnesota Vikings, and the New York Jets. Even though he's been a journeyman of sorts, he still had a pretty solid career. A Pro Bowler in 2017 where he was the league's leader in forced fumbles. But coming off a down year in 2023, as Ngakoue was limited to just 4 total sacks and 6 tackles for loss. But you don't have to go too far back to find when Ngakoue was playing at a pretty high level. 9.5 sacks in 2022, 10 sacks in 2021, and 8 sacks in 2020. I'll be honest, I don't like what I saw out of Yannick Ngakoue last season. But if he can get back to his old self, then this could be a very good fit for what the Seahawks are looking for, because I think of this, it's kind of one of those deals where it makes sense for both sides, because Yannick's in a situation coming off a down year where he's not going to be paid a whole lot. He's going to have to take a prove-it contract, if you will, wherever he goes. And so I think you're looking at about a 1-year, $4 million deal is all it would take to get Yannick Ngakoue. And we've seen the track record of what Mike McDonald has done with these veteran pass rushers over the years, from Justin Houston, Kyle Van Noy, Jadeveon Clowney, just to name a few. He has gotten a lot out of these older guys. So for me, $4 million, that's a chance that I see worth taking. What do you guys think? Should the Seahawks sign Yannick Ngakoue? Weigh in the comment section. Let us know what you think. S for sign, P for pass on our pinned comment today. Weigh in and tell me what you think. Another potential edge rusher for Seattle, Emmanuel Ogbah, formerly of the Miami Dolphins, also with the Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. And Ogbah has had a sneaky good career, folks. This is somebody that played a pivotal role in the Chiefs' first Super Bowl title of the Mahomes era. And a guy that I think when you talk story-wise, he's been kind of written off time and time again. And just when you write him off, he comes back with vengeance. Last year, after getting paid a big chunk of change, was a bit of a down year for Emmanuel Ogbah, as he just had 5.5 sacks compared to a couple of years prior in 2021 and in 2020 when he had 9 sacks in each of those seasons. And I'll say this, with Ogbah in a situation where he's being counted out again, right? Being written off like, he's not that great. He's kind of washed at this point in time. This sounds exactly like a type of guy that Mike Macdonald could bring in as another reclamation project of sorts and maximize and deliver for this Seahawks team. And on top of that, too, if we're comparing Ogbah to Yannick Ngakoue, Ogbah's got a much better track record when it comes to being a run stopper compared to Ngakoue. And we've seen that the Seahawks are looking at a situation where they need all the help they can get when it comes to run defense. So that goes to Ogbah's advantage. The number for him, a little bit more than it would cost Ngakoue. You're looking at 1 year, $7 million for a deal for him. Not like the money that he saw in Miami, but more money than Yannick Ngakoue nonetheless. So if you had to choose between these two options, which would you rather go with? Would you rather sign Yannick Ngakoue or would you rather sign Emmanuel Ogbah? Type Y for Yannick Ngakoue. Type E for Emmanuel Ogbah. Let us know in the comments section which player you rather have in Seattle. Last on our list is where we find Mecole Hardman, a Super Bowl champion, a 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs, a wide receiver and a return specialist, and began his career in Kansas City, former second-round pick out of Georgia. And he was brought in some very interesting times for Kansas City. It was after some big controversy involving Tyreek Hill. They didn't know if Tyreek Hill was going to be a part of their long-term plans or not. They bring in Hardman for that speed. And it's been a lot of peaks and valleys for Mecole Hardman over the years, but he did make a Pro Bowl in 2019 as a return specialist. You can see last year, the numbers were not flashy at all. 15 catches, 124 yards. The year prior to that, 25 catches, 297 yards, and 4 touchdowns. If he could put up as a number 4 receiver, competing with Jake Bobo for that number 4 spot, similar numbers to what we saw in 2020 or 2021, the Seahawks would be thrilled. And then you also talk about the return possibility as well. The Seahawks don't have an obvious choice right now when it comes to the return game. And with the way the return game is switching up in the NFL with this XFL, UFL, whatever you want to call it, style kickoff, you're going to have multiple return men. That's where Hardman can come in. Offensively, the Seahawks offense could use another deep threat as well. Hardman certainly fits that mold, and not to mention, he's been a reliable red zone threat at times. The Seahawks going to be without Colby Parkinson. He's gone now. They don't have an obvious option in the red zone. Hardman could play a factor in that. And think about this. Despite the peaks and valleys that we mentioned of Hardman's career, when it mattered most, the only touchdown he had all season last year for Kansas City, it came through the most important play of the year in that win against the San Francisco 49ers when he had the walk-off touchdown catch. The price tag for Mecole Hardman, not a ton of money either, just 1 year, $4 million to potentially bring Hardman into the fold there. So what do you guys think about Mecole Hardman? Should the Seahawks make a run at the former Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver and special teamer? Let us know what you think. Y for yes, in for no, if the Seahawks should sign Mecole Hardman or not. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of Seahawks Today. Subscribe now for continuing Seahawks coverage. If they sign any of these players we talked about today, we're going to make a video about it here on the channel. Subscribe now. We'll see you next time.